Jake Sullivan had always believed that life's strangest truths revealed themselves in the quietest moments, like the time he stood barefoot on his dew-soaked lawn at 3:47 a.m., clutching a garden hose, watching his brand-new storage shed erupt into a roaring bonfire. The shed, a gleaming symbol of his post-divorce independence, was now a blackened skeleton, its aluminum walls curling inward like a dying beast. Flames danced gleefully against the pre-dawn sky, illuminating the sleepy cul-de-sac of Evergreen Hollow with the intensity of a misplaced summer festival. Jake's boxer briefs fluttered in the cool October breeze, and as smoke stung his eyes, he couldn't help but wonder if moving into this pristine suburban enclave was the universe's way of punishing him for stealing candy bars from Mr. Grayson's corner store when he was 12. The crackling fire painted flickering shadows across the street, drawing a small crowd of pajama-clad neighbors who emerged from their identical ranch-style homes like moths to a flame. Jake barely registered their murmurs. His focus was locked on the shed, his tools, his blueprints, his fresh start, all melting into ash. Adrenaline surged through him, though he hadn't fully shaken off the haze of sleep. Then, through the haze, he caught sight of her, Margaret Maggie Ellison, the iron-fisted president of the Evergreen Hollow Homeowners Association, standing on the sidewalk in a navy satin robe, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Her sharp green eyes gleamed with a mix of shock and something else, something that looked suspiciously like triumph. For a fleeting second, their gazes locked across the smoky chaos. Maggie's mouth twitched, as if she were suppressing a smirk, while Jake's stomach churned with a sudden, unshakable certainty. This wasn't an accident. Just yesterday, Maggie had slapped a neon yellow citation on his front door, citing Section 14B, unsightly outdoor storage structures, and demanding he repaint or relocate the shed within 48 hours. Now, as the fire devoured it, her presence felt less like neighborly concern and more like a Tory lap. "Jake, oh my goodness, are you okay?" Maggie's voice cut through the night, shrill yet dripping with rehearsed sympathy. She clutched her robe tighter, her manicured nails catching the firelight as she waved her phone indecisively. "Do you need me to call someone? This is just awful. I did warn you about that eyesore, though." Jake's grip tightened on the hose, the pathetic stream of water hissing uselessly against the inferno. The absurdity of her words, delivered with zero irony, might have made him laugh if his entire livelihood weren't currently charring before his eyes. "Yeah, Maggie," he rasped, coughing on smoke. "You warned me. Guess I missed the part where arson was the HOA's go-to enforcement method." Maggie's face flushed a deep crimson, her composure faltering for a split second. "Arson? Don't be ridiculous," she snapped, her voice rising an octave. "I was out for my nightly walk, insomnia. And I saw those propane tanks you irresponsibly left beside that shed. I tried to move them for safety, and, well, accidents happen. Public safety is my top priority here at Evergreen Hollow." Jake turned back to the fire, the flames roaring louder, as if mocking her excuse. "Safety, huh? Because right now, your top priority looks a lot like felony property damage with a side of reckless endangerment." Before Maggie could retort, a new figure shuffled into view, her husband, Leonard, a balding tax attorney with the perpetually defeated air of a man who'd long ago surrendered to his wife's chaos. He wore mismatched slippers and a faded bathrobe, cradling a thermos of coffee as he squinted at the blaze. "Maggie, are we breaking laws again?" he asked dryly, taking a sip. "Because I'm pretty sure a lawyer said we should stop doing that after the gazebo incident." Maggie whirled on him, her glare venomous. "Leonard, go back inside. This is an HOA emergency, not your business." Her voice trembled with barely contained fury as more neighbors gathered, some filming the spectacle on their phones, others whispering behind cupped hands. Jake caught a sarcastic shout from across the street. Finally, something exciting in this boring-ass neighborhood. By the time the fire department arrived, Jake was soaked, exhausted, and fantasizing about Maggie tripping into her own perfectly manicured rose bushes. The firefighters doused the smoldering wreckage, Leah vying behind a twisted heap of metal and dreams. A paramedic draped a scratchy blanket over Jake's shoulders as he watched Maggie retreat into the crowd, her robe swishing with every indignant step. Leonard lingered, sidling up to Jake with an apologetic shrug. "She's been a little unhinged since losing that city council seat last year," he muttered. "Enforcing rules is her therapy. Sorry about your shed, man." Jake shot him a sidelong glance, brushing ash from his arm. "Therapy, huh? Well, burning my stuff is a hell of a coping mechanism. Does her insurance cover neighbors' emotional distress?" Leonard chuckled, a tired, hollow sound. "I'll pitch it to her shrink." He shuffled off, Leah vying Jake alone with the ruins and a simmering resolve. Maggie might think she'd won, but she'd just lit a fuse she couldn't snuff out. 2 days later, the Evergreen Hollow Community Center buzzed with tension. The HOA meeting had been called hastily, fueled by whispers of the shed fire and Maggie's involvement. Jake arrived early, hoping to snag a seat far from Maggie's orbit, but she was already there, perched at the front table like a queen on her throne. Her blonde hair was swept into a flawless bun, her blouse pressed to perfection, and a string of pearls gleamed against her collarbone. Flanking her were the board members' nervous, fidgety puppets in her shadow. Jake slid into a chair between two unlikely allies. Priya Patel, a sharp-tongued software developer who'd once been fined for excessive holiday lighting, and Hank Grayson, a grizzled ex-cop with a buzz cut and a no-nonsense stare. Hank leaned in, his voice a low rumble. "Kid, I've seen gang wars with less drama than this place. You're stirring up a hornet's nest." "Good," Jake muttered, clutching a folder of EVY Denke he'd spent the last 48 hours compiling. "Let's see how Maggie likes getting stung." Maggie stood, tapping a gavel against the table with theatrical flair. "Order, please. We're here to address urgent matters. As you're all aware, Resident Jake Sullivan VY OLAT Section 14B by maintaining an unsightly storage structure. Due to unforeseen circumstances, it was destroyed, incurring cleanup costs that Mr. Sullivan has audaciously billed to the HOA. A ripple of laughter spread through the room. Priya snorted beside Jake. Unforeseen circumstances? She's got balls calling it that. Jake rose, holding up his folder. Let's clarify those circumstances, Maggie. You set my shed on fire. I've got security footage from my doorbell cam showing you messing with those propane tanks minutes before the blaze started. Intentional or not, that's arson. The room erupted in gasps. Maggie gripped the table, her knuckles whitening. That's absurd. I was ensuring community safety. Those tanks were a hazard. Hazard? Jake shot back. The only hazard was your ego. But let's not stop there. I'm not just here about my shed. I'm here because you've been running this HOA like your personal fiefdom, and I'm not the only one who's fed up. Hank stood, his voice cutting through the chatter. She fined me $50 last month because my mailbox was too reflective. Said it blinded drivers. I've seen dictators with less control issues. Priya jumped up next, her dark eyes flashing. And don't forget the time she cited me for my Diwali lights being disruptive. Apparently, joy isn't allowed in Evergreen Hollow. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a mix of amusement and outrage. Maggie's face twisted with fury. Enough. These petty complaints don't change the fact that rules exist for a reason. If you don't like them, move. Oh, we like it here just fine, Jake said, his voice steady. We just don't like you. And since you brought up rules, how about we talk about the HOA funds you've been siphoning? Maggie froze. The room went dead silent. Jake opened his folder, pulling out a printed email he'd gotten from Priya, who'd hacked into the HOA's financial records the night before. Overdue law $10,000 in the last year, alone spa trips, personal landscaping, fake consulting fees to your cousin's shell company. All billed as community enhancements. The crowd exploded. Maggie slammed her gavel down. Lies. This is a witch hunt. No, Maggie, Hank growled, stepping forward. This is justice. The meeting spiraled into chaos, but it was only the beginning. Over the next week, Jake, Priya, and Hank formed an unlikely trio, digging deeper into Maggie's reign of terror. Priya's tech skills uncovered more financial discrepancies due La 5,000 for a neighborhood beautification seminar that turned out to be a weekend at a luxury resort, while Hank's old police contacts confirmed the propane tanks had been tampered with, not accidentally ignited. Jake, meanwhile, rallied the neighbors, turning their quiet grumbling into a full-blown rebellion. But Maggie wasn't going down without a fight. One night, Priya's garage was broken into, her laptop stolen, one containing their evidence. The next morning, Jake found a cryptic note slipped under his door. "Back off, or next time it's not just shed." The handwriting was unmistakably Maggie's. "She's escalating," Priya said, pacing Jake's living room, her hands trembling with rage. "We need to hit back harder." Hank nodded, polishing a pair of brass knuckles he'd pulled from a drawer. "Agreed. Time to go nuclear." Jake hesitated. "I don't want a war. I just want her gone." "Too late for that, kid," Hank said. "She drew first blood. Now we finish it." The final showdown came at the next HOA meeting, a standing room-only affair crackling with anticipation. Jake strode in with a USB drive loaded with irrefutable proof, bank statements, security footage, even a recorded confession from Leonard, who'd cracked under pressure and admitted Maggie's schemes. As Jake presented the evidence, Maggie's empire crumbled. The board voted her out unanimously, and the room erupted in cheers. Maggie stood, trembling, her voice barely a whisper. "I just wanted this place to be perfect. You'll see you'll all regret this." Jake met her gaze, unflinching. "No, Maggie, you did this to yourself." As she stormed out, Leonard trailing behind, the neighbors swarmed Jake with gratitude. They offered him the interim presidency, but he waved it off. "I'm no leader. I just want my peace back." Priya grinned, slinging an arm around his shoulders. "Too bad, hero. You're stuck with us now." The next day, a package arrived on Jake's porch, a fire extinguisher with a note for the next HOA battle. "Thanks for saving us." Jake laughed, shaking his head. Evergreen Hollow wasn't perfect, but for the first time, it felt like home. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.